Hey everyone, welcome to another live stream. It's been a while since I've been able to do one of these, and I apologize that I've been just busy. Life's been good, and it's been busy, and I've had lots of good things happening in my life. I hope you've been having good things happening in your life. Wait for some people to join up into the stream, but I'll start talking about what we're going to talk about before we talk about it. For the people that are watching this in the replay, there's nothing worse than watching a live stream where it's just a bit boring. So I've got something prepared that I wanted to do. Actually, this has gone cold now, but I guess that's okay. I've got some hot water here, but it's no longer hot. So I'm going to show you how to make a little herbal poultice, which is something I use a lot over the years. I've used it. I haven't had to use it for a while on myself, which is good. But I need to use it now because my wrist is really, really hurting. I've been moving house and moving clinics, and I've been shifting a lot of boxes, and I think that's why my wrist is gone, because it's not from music, which is my normal things. Like I do a lot of guitar and playing music, and it's not from that. So I can't really kind of blame that. So you're welcome to ask your questions about Chinese medicine on the stream. And if you can't hear me properly or anything like that, please let me know. Please let me know. I'm pretty sure this is working. If it's not, you have to please tell me if you cannot hear me properly or clearly, or you want it to be louder. I've got a new setup in this place. It's looking really good now. It's getting there. I've done painting. I painted these walls behind me, the white. I've been shifting, moving boxes, and setting up a new place to work from, and it's just been all good things happening. So this is a poultice that I've used a lot, and I'm not actually sure how I came about it. I think I made it up because I've spent a lot of years experimenting with external use kind of poultices, and I'm not really sure why I used the linseed, but that's what this is. This is ground linseed. So please let me know if you can hear me properly, everyone who's jumped on so far. And unfortunately, this is a wet spoon, so I'm going to try to do this so you can actually, no, you won't be able to see. This is silly, Marie, because my microphone's right there, so I'm just going to move that out of the way. But I've basically just got a little bowl, and this has got, normally I'd pour the boiling hot water onto it, but I'm going to just dry this spoon. So I'm going to be answering people's questions about Chinese medicine, but while we wait for the questions to come in and the people to come in, I'm going to be making this poultice. So this is linseed. Where are we? And there's a little bit of Chinese herbs of Honghua, so I'm going to put a big scoop of that in there, a couple of scoops. And what you want it to do is make it into like a paste. Whoops, we put too much. That's okay, because you can use it another time. And so this is linseed, and then I'll use another herb called Honghua. Please let me know if you are having trouble hearing me or not hearing me or something like that. Testing 1 2. I think it's working. It's just, I hope it is. Yeah, well, I can see it on my end. And then I've got another herb up here called Honghua. So this is safflower, not saffron. If it was saffron, I'd be a millionaire. Oh, that stinks. So safflower, Honghua, is a blood-moving Chinese medicine herb, and it seems to have a good effect externally. And then what you want is, you either want something. So I sometimes use this, which is dragon's blood, a resin. Put that up there, close to put it in front of my face, and it's just a resin. It's just a powder. I've shaken it a little bit. Sometimes I will use, well, most of the times I use frankincense or myrrh ground up, and there is a little bit of that in here, and I only want a tiny bit of this. I'm just going to put a little bit in there, just because I don't really want to waste this. You can actually get dragon's blood as an essential oil as well, and that moves blood. So you just want to mix all this up together as a paste, but I've put too much of this in it. Normally I just then would pour the boiling hot water onto it. So please let me know how you're going, and well, you don't have to let me know how you're going, but please let me know you can hear me, and welcome the questions about Chinese medicine. So this is water, just plain old water, which I'm going to add to the mixture. And then you kind of want it to be a consistency of like, I'm going to just mix it up there so you can see. You want it like a paste. Obviously not too dry, not too... So that's looking quite good. It looks like a poop kind of consistency. Yes. I'm going to add just a tiniest bit more water into it. And just keep the mixing going. Mixed it out of the bowl. And so if you mix up too much, like this would be not too much for on your back. I'm worried that people can't hear because I'm seeing people coming in and out and no one's saying anything. Please tell me if you can or can't hear me. If I'm too loud or too soft or there's no volume, that would be terrible. I've just reconnected all this software here, so maybe people are just coming in and out. Let me see if I can find myself on Facebook. Oh, there's plenty of sound there. Hear myself clapping around. So that's not the sound issue. All right, that's good. So anyway, what we do with this is you need to apply this onto the skin. Great. I've applied it onto the floor. Just 1 second there. I've got carpet here. Not that bit. I'm not going to put that onto me. Anyway. I thought this would be a fun way to start the stream because I really need to do this. But like I've just been so busy and I thought, oh, people might want to see this. So what you use, well, this is what I use, is a small piece of cloth to put the poultice onto, and then that's going to go onto your hand or your wherever the problem is. So it could go onto your foot. I've used this for a sprained ankle before. I've used it for what I use it for. Normally it's the other wrists that goes for me because I do musical stuff, and if I'm holding my guitar or playing my violin or something, which reminds me it's going to be St. Patrick's Day soon. I'm going to make a fiddle song for St. Patrick's Day. It's another thing for me to put on my never-ending list of stuff to do at the moment. Oh, great. Yuwu has asked a question. So let me finish making this poultice and apply it. It doesn't look great for obvious reasons. It looks like something else. But that is the poultice. Oh, what a great shot there. That's good. So what we're going to do is I'll just stand up and I'll show you how I'm going to put it on. So you put it onto the middle of that, and then I'm going to want to put that right on my hand there, so that what I want to do is I want that poultice to connect with my skin, and I want it to just touch onto the skin. And so what I'm going to do now is use a bandage just basically to secure that. Now if you make this really thick like I have now, it's almost, I could almost take that off just to show you. It's not going to go anywhere. I mean, it will if I start throwing my hand around, but it won't. It's not going to leak out, okay? But if you do think it's going to leak out, you can buy tape, and you can sort of use a skin tape on here, but you don't really need that. And then what you do is you use a bandage. Now, this is the bandage I always use for this stuff, and that's why it's a little bit brownie coloured looking in some parts, because the poultice inevitably leaks out of it. So what you do is you just apply it like that, and it's just kind of, you don't want it too tight because you need to sleep with this on. So you're really only using the bandage to hold it on there. And linseed is one of the best things for like inflammation. I've seen people use linseed for pain, all kinds of different pain, not so much in Chinese medicine, just in other medicines. I'm laughing. Yeah, I'm laughing as well because it's like a bit of a poofy thing, looking thing. Anyway, so that's how you do it, and that's a linseed poultice. So what I've done is I've used ground linseed. Now, grinding your own linseeds is a bugger of all buggers. It's really bad. It's hard to do that. You really just buy the ground or pre-ground linseed and save yourself a second marriage. It's just better, or save yourself the turmoil. So that's what you do. Now, I've got a little bit. Oh, I had a little bit left over. I've got a little bit left over, and you can use that for something else. You could just put some Glad wrap over this or keep it in the fridge. I'm not sure what I'll be doing with that, but I'm going to put it up there. Okay, so please feel free to ask your questions. I'm going to answer Yuwu's question. I think it's Yuwu. Hi, I'm not good with diagnosis. I want to ask which meridians could be of help from vertigo caused by menopause. So I have to give my regular disclaimer that I'm not your doctor, and I can't give individual health advice. If you need that before proceeding with any treatment, you should go and see your GP or your Western medicine doctor or your Chinese medicine doctor, or both of those things. And I will answer these questions in a theoretical way. The purpose of this channel is to teach people about Chinese medicine, to help you know, well, this is when Chinese medicine would help, or how it might help, or not so much even to claim that we can even help you, because depending on what country you live in, we cannot even claim that. But I'm going to talk about how we would think about the body, how we would go about thinking about a problem like this, and that provides some kind of avenue for how we would come to terms with the treatment. So I'm not making any claims about what it can or cannot treat. So hopefully you can infer the rest of the information from that on. Now we can proceed. So yes, menopause. So, okay, your question is, we probably need a bit more information, and also like on YouTube and Facebook or wherever you're watching this from, please don't put your personal details that you don't want to put, identifying information about who you are, that kind of stuff. Be careful of that stuff. So the Chinese medicine diagnosis has to be made before we can come to a treatment, right? The treatment would be the channels. So menopause by itself could result in there could be lots of patterns of disharmony going on. Not always, but most commonly, there's a component of, just because you're aging, your yang flares up a little bit. So it goes upwardly. And certainly with vertigo, that is a symptom of upward flaring of yang. In a classical Chinese medicine sense, that would be something we would think about. Now, this is also a very broad concept. It's not as detailed. And within that flaring of yang, there could be lots of reasons for that. It could be more of a deficiency kind of thing that's going on. So your body can't literally hold on to its own yang, and it just kind of flares up out of control. And that's a bit of a shame because it could result in horrible symptoms like vertigo, or like dizziness and tinnitus, or headaches, or things like that. And so inevitably what we want to do is anchor the yang, is to promote the yang going back down. Now, classical Chinese medicine thinks of it like yang. Yes, well, I'm going to proceed with your question anyway, and hopefully give you something you can use. So there's some things with acupressure where you could just try using these points. So something like kidney 3 might help to ground you. So it's a very grounding kind of point. I'll just write that in the comments here. I'm not giving you a treatment. These are just points that may help with the grounding of the yang in that aspect. So kidney 3 is a point that is commonly used for doing that kind of a thing. There's also points on the head that can kind of be used to treat that flaring. Something I would try first before you know what's the cause of it is thinking of it as a Xiaoyang kind of problem. You'd want to use the Sanjiao channel. So the Sanjiao, or sometimes it's called the triple warmer or the triple heater, is a Xiaoyang channel. So it treats problems of Xiaoyang. Another Xiaoyang channel is the gallbladder channel. And often these upward rushing things in menopause, there's probably some kind of underlying blood deficiency, but that's not the direct cause sometimes, not always. I mean, ultimately how a practitioner is going to know is by your pulse diagnosis. So they're going to, I just tweaked my wrist again. They're going to check your pulse and know. And that's how they're going to differentiate between something that's excessive or flaring of yang from just a purely a Xiaoyang problem or some kind of underlying kind of deficiency there. So I would go for the Sanjiao and like the whole Sanjiao channel. So I'm just very much aware that you can't see my arms. I'll just get rid of that. Get rid of all that. So your Sanjiao channel is on this side of your arm here. So down here, down in the middle. So you can use this kind of thing. I'll just get close to the microphone so you can hear the sound. It's called bird pecking. Like a little pecking kind of motion. Like a little bird. That's what it is. You could use the Sanjiao channel. So Sanjiao or the gallbladder. And that's where I would kind of start if you're asking for what meridians or what channels to start with. This is a great question because there's lots of things we could think about in order to think about that. Another symptom that happens with vertigo, it can be nausea. So feeling sick, feeling like, oh, I'm going to throw up, or as if I'm going to throw up, or maybe even throwing up. Vomiting can be part of it. It's not that common, but feeling sick, feeling like, oh, seasick. So Pericardium 6 is another point that you can use on your hand. So just here at the side, I was teaching some students about points today, so I have some points written on my hand now with a pen that doesn't seem to want to wash off that easily. So I'm just going to move that a little bit closer to me, the microphone. I hope that's useful. Hope that's enough information on that question. So yeah, so things have been busy for me. I've been moving clinics and house, and I haven't been able to do any streams. And then I've just gotten back into seeing patients at the new place, which is the room I'm in now. So this is the little office corner, and then there's a little bed over there. Yes, it's good. And yeah, so I've been doing that. And what else? I've been working on my music. Most people know I'm a muso. I'm writing some songs. Well, I'm not writing any songs at the moment. I've been lazy about that. I'm not lazy, but no time to do for that. So I've just been working on my I'm going to be releasing an album soon, and it's just making music. And moving to doing this move was kind of part of like getting ready to have a place to be able to do all that stuff from, which is good. So hopefully this is a good sound in this room, because this is actually a soundproof room. So it should have a nicer sound and be less echoey. I haven't set up all my condenser mics and stuff yet, but this little tiny mic, if I bring it closer to me, you'll probably get more of a boomy kind of a sound happening. Probably shouldn't play around with it too much. Do you like my microphone stand? It's actually a Chinese medicine cup. That there, you can clip these lapel mics onto you, or you can put them. I'm in a good mood tonight. Just funny, just here to have a bit of fun with people and answer your questions. So please ask some questions about Chinese medicine. What else are we going to talk about? I'm going to go through the channel because there's like bazillions of questions that I haven't been able to ask, been able to answer for weeks and weeks and weeks while I was moving. It seems like a lot of people have been interested in the damp heat video recently that I've made. a video about what is damp heat. I've been getting a lot of questions about that. So YouTube obviously thinks that that's a video to show a lot of people at the moment. And someone asked me, would Candida be a symptom of damp heat? So I might talk about that unless someone else has another question, a different question that they'd like to ask. Oh, here we go. Yes, I will add the kidney technique you showed, and you showed me for the Sound Gel channel. Yeah, great. Yeah, you can try that. I mean, with acupressure, one of the good things about trying it is if you're wrong, you're very unlikely to cause yourself damage, right? Just by pressing points, you're not going to do damage. Whereas if you're wrong and you eat the wrong foods, you could have some damage. If you're wrong and you take the wrong herbs, there will be more damage, right? So you can't just treat yourself with herbs. Hardly, it's, that's why you need to go to school and become a herbalist. Yeah, I've got this giant piece of ginger here. I had from another class I was doing earlier today. So, yes, there's quite a few questions about dampness that people were asking. So I might just, maybe I'll answer that and then send that person the answer on this one. So, yeah, is fruit to be avoided if you've got damp heat? That's a really interesting question, because there's one of the things to remember with Chinese medicine and Chinese diet therapy is there's no absolute, like, you could never have this, you could never have that. Like, there's some things that are not great for you, and maybe you avoid them for a period of time, but it's not like, oh, I should never have that. And when we think about fruits, there's a spectrum of fruits of what they do. So fruits can become very dampening if they're very sickly sweet and the juice from them is very syrupy. But if they're not syrupy, like a pear, it's not a dampening kind of fruit, right? So the juice is very thin. So you kind of want to think about when you juice a fruit, when you juice a fruit, what does the liquid come out like? Is it coming out too thick, or not too thick, but is it coming out very thick and syrupy? Like apricots, that, even with apricot juice, we call it apricot nectar, not really a juice. So it's so thick, and that's that combination of that thick, syrupy liquid that's sweet is what creates phlegmy dampness. So it'll either create phlegm if you've got a cold or a flu, it'll make you even worse. So phlegmy, all horrible. That's not nice. But it could also make you make the dampness worse, or just make it harder to get rid of the dampness. So over time, it's like your body's trying to get rid of this damp, but it's like, oh, why is it so hard? Like, because sometimes those foods are like sort of feeding it, creating that environment to kind of feed it. So like obviously refined sugar, I think that was something that I'd mentioned on that video about what is damp heat, or what do I have damp heat. So to answer your question, Clara, that's for Clara, is fruit to be avoided? No, you don't have to avoid fruit, but I would certainly avoid syrupy fruits. And if you can, you could try cooking some fruits, and certainly eating what fruits are in season will be useful. So if you eat fruits that are out of season, you're more likely to have these cold and raw things in winter, because fruits don't naturally grow in the winter time. So depending on where you live, if you live in an icy place where it snows and things like that, well, you probably shouldn't be having any fruit in winter. If you live in Australia, fruit can grow all year round, and things like pears and apples tend to not be very syrupy and dampening. So apples can be very bitter and tart, Granny Smith kind of apple, a green apple. And then you go right through to the thicker, syrupier, I wouldn't say thicker, but slightly more sweeter kind of apples. Then they would tend to be more dampening. Generally with like bananas and avocados, those fruits can make you phlegmy because they're thick. Like they're actually not even a syrup that could come out, like a juice that can come out. They're just like a thickness. So that tends to be moving away from the clear, bland diet. But it also then depends on what else you're eating. So it's all within the context of what else you're having. So if a person's on a keto diet, let's say, and they're not having much refined, well, they wouldn't be having any sugar, and they're probably not eating many packety kinds of foods, well, you could probably have some avocado. You might even be able to have avocado every day. But if you're having refined foods and sugars and things, and then you have avocado on top of that, then that's when it becomes a problem. So, yeah, something that's good about Chinese diet therapy is that it's very pragmatic, and there's no right or wrong in terms of absolute, like, oh, you could never have that. But it's knowing what those things kind of do to you. But then that also makes it hard for some people. I was listening to Andrew Huberman's podcast. He's a neuroscientist, and he talks about this go, no-go thing that people have, which makes it easier to stick on a diet or not stick on a diet. It's like easier just to eliminate things and just avoid them, rather than giving people hundreds of choices and trying to make the best of the healthy diet they can. Now, if you can learn to live like that, you'll in generally be happier because nothing's excluded. But you can constantly, for some people, they might very easily be battling that addictive thing of like, oh, I'm addicted to that, and if I can just have it, I'll have it. Yeah. So, yeah. Does anyone else have other questions they would like to ask? I'll maybe whip onto the channel and find some other questions that I've missed from the times. What else have we got here? Would Candida be a symptom of damp heat? So that's also, again, on the damp heat video. I'm not sure why that was getting so popular from YouTube again. So this is on the video about damp heat. It says, is Candida, well, let me find it again. Would Candida be a symptom of damp heat? So yes, it can be. Hello, DJ. Not sure how to say your name. Sorry, Divj 461. Yeah, so we'll come to your question in one sec. So the Candida, to answer that question, yes, it can be, but it's not always. So damp heat always has to have it's going to give you more thickness in, like, the dampness is giving you more thickness in the fluids, but the heat's going to make things congeal and become stickier and harder to get out, and maybe smell more and turn yellow and that kind of stuff. So that's that answer. Essential tremors. I'm not sure what you mean by essential tremors. Maybe you could explain a little more. You don't have to give personal information about yourself, but just maybe explain what you mean by essential tremors, because I'm not sure what you mean. Is it relating to an illness, or is it relating to just tremoring in general of the hands and feet, or something like that? Yep, that'd be good. And so abnormal movements in the body are relating to wind in one sense in Chinese medicine. So like a circulation of qi is done by the wood element, the liver, not so much the liver, but the wood element relates to movements and the spreading of the liver qi. And there is some, like, TCM links wind with abnormal movements, so like tremoring and things like that. It can come from blood deficiency. So like wind can arise out of blood deficiency. So those abnormal movements could happen in someone who gets blood deficient. Now, not everyone who gets blood deficient is going to get tremors either. Like, it's, but it is a way of treating it. So it's like when something becomes deficient, there's more room for this, like, wind to arise, because wind is a yang phenomena. It's in yeah. So we probably need just a little bit more information. Here we go. It's a type of condition that causes Action tremors, shaking of the hands and the feet, but it can affect any part of the body. I've just never heard. I mean, yeah. I'm just Googling it now. I've never heard of this disorder. I've done a lot of. I've been doing this for a long time, but there's still some disorders you haven't heard of. Maybe it's a new, and not a common thing, or maybe it's newly termed as this. So John Hopkins says that essential tremor is a neurological condition that causes your hands to shake rhythmically. The head, trunk, and voice might also be involved, but hand shaking is most prominent. The cause is not known, but it's often passed down from parent to child. Essential tremor is sometimes confused with other types of tremor. Yeah, so obviously they're going to try to rule out things like Parkinson's disease or known illnesses that might be there. It says here it's often confused with Parkinson's disease. Essential tremor is the most common trembling disorder. Everyone has at least a small degree of tremor, but the movements usually cannot be seen or felt because the tremor is so small. Yeah. So, yes, I've probably just treated this before, but people haven't called it that name because I've treated lots of people who've got a tremor. And, yeah, they probably so the first thing to do would be to work out, are they blood deficient? Because that would be a sensible way to treat them in Chinese medicine first, right? So there's not going to do any harm in tonifying blood. I might just put this on there because people watching might wonder what the hell we're talking about. So blood nourishing things. I've got several videos on that, but that would be something to think of. So if you're a female, you can get blood deficient very easily. If you're a male, you don't get blood deficient as easily, but generally you can. Obviously men can get blood deficient too, like that happens, but there's not like this portal of blood like your uterus that blood can just come out of and be wasted, right, when you're a man. So the first thing, if you are blood deficient, that's why I'm mentioning that the reason is to think, well, stop the bleeding, stop the cause if you can, right? So that's one thing. Blood deficiency also very commonly happens after a traumatic thing that's happened to your body, so surgery or something like that. Now, you might not have blood deficiency, but that would be a thing you would start with to think of that. Now, as people age, they generally are going to get more blood deficient. And something to think about, if you are blood deficient, you generally don't like the wind. You don't like wind blowing on you, like air conditioners or things blowing on you, fans blowing on you. If you are blood deficient, you would usually end up with dry skin eventually. Like your skin will get dry because blood nourishes. You need blood to nourish your skin. So people who are very blood deficient can get super dry and cracked, very cracked skin and stuff like that can happen too. And there can be other symptoms, right? So that's one way. So if you nourish blood because I'm just thinking how you could focus on it from a diet perspective, like to sort of support your body. Again, what we want to think about with this kind of thing, one, because some people have just jumped on here, probably should do a little disclaimer. I think again, I'm not your doctor. I can't give you individual health advice. If you are unsure about starting a treatment or doing something, go and see your own GP, general practitioner, or doctor, or physio, physician, or Chinese medicine practitioner. But I will talk about how Chinese medicine thinks about these conditions, and whether or not you have them is your own prerogative. I'm not giving people individual advice about what you should do about your condition. But I'm happy to talk about how Chinese medicine thinks about these things. So that's over and done with again. Sorry for the people who've had to sit through that twice. So the other way to think about tremors and shaking is also from the channels. So from the channel perspective, like what channels are affected, possibly treating the tremor, treating those channels can be a way of treating it. And how you would know is, like, a lot of times people have acupuncture and the tremor stops after the treatment. Like, if it gets better around the time of the treatment, that's telling you there is some component of the condition that's a channel-based kind of component, because you can't just, like, if it was all due to blood deficiency, you can't just tonify blood in one kind of treatment. Like, it doesn't just kind of fix up like that. I'm glad that you've caught a stream as well. I haven't done a stream for a while, so welcome, Angelo and Angelo in the Animal Intuitive channel. That's so kind of cool. I like your dog picture there. So your tremor got worse after a variceal surgery, right? Yeah, fair enough. And a stressful time. Yeah, okay. So I'll just get your personal thing off the screen for you. But yeah, so so I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry that's not good. That's not nice. But so what can happen is blood becomes deficient, right? And then when you have grief, it affects your lungs, and it depends on how, like, grief's normal. It's not, we don't say don't have grief, but it's going to affect your lungs. So it kind of dissolves the chi, right? So it weakens chi. So if it was really more affecting your lungs, you might have more lung conditions happening, like easy get short of breath, or easy get puffed out when you run, or something like that, than more than normal, or things like that, or that kind of stuff. So it's often these kinds of causes of problems are multifaceted, right? So the surgery itself would have made you blood deficient in some way, although most surgeries these days, unless there's a massive complication where you're bleeding out accidentally, or you've had a traumatic thing, like you've been run over and they've had to give you like liters of extra blood or things like that, most surgeries don't deplete you too much. But what they can do is provide an avenue for cold to, like, directly invade into your body, and that can also weaken people too. So I've recently been doing a course about how our body responds to the cold from the Han Dynasty style medicine, which is called the Shang Han Lun, like the text that talks about how cold kind of comes in from the environment, and then our body responds to that. If it doesn't respond properly, or the cold is so severe, or the illness is so severe, and this is the Han Dynasty's way of talking about viruses and colds and flus and things like that they didn't know were caused by that at the time, then, like, your body has this natural response to respond to that. Now, what happens when you have surgery is you're bypassing all of that natural response. You're going straight into the yin aspects of your body. So you're damaging the body directly. So the cold literally from the operating theatre, the cold from the instruments going into your body, and that kind of stuff. So you could go and seek an acupuncturist, possibly for the treatment. But for yourself, you could focus on blood tonification. So the first thing for blood tonification would be bone broth. If you're a vegan or a vegetarian, I'm not sure. I do have some videos on that, but that would be less easy to intervene if you're a vegan, particularly. If you're a vegan or a vegetarian, you must focus on warm foods. Ginger's really good. Ginger doesn't tonify your blood, but what ginger does is it helps your stomach and your spleen, your earth element, work properly, so that it's warming that. And there's actually a treatment in one of the older texts of Chinese medicine, in the Jingui, which is the second text that Zhang Zhongjing wrote, and he used ginger and meat together as a postpartum treatment for women that had a baby, as a formula, right? So that tells us a few things. One is that, well, meat's good for you in that way, right? And that also tells us that, so meat's a tonification food for blood deficiency, blood loss. And also, they probably didn't have a lot of meat that time. If it had to be prescribed by a doctor, people weren't probably running around eating as much meat as they eat these days in our society. So I'm forever offending the vegans. I'm actually surprised I don't offend as many vegans as I thought I would offend. But if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, then I did a video about blood deficiency foods for vegans or vegetarians. And the only reason I kind of mention that is because that's how people get blood deficient as well. Like they've either lost blood and become a vegetarian or a vegan. But so bone broth is a good food to have because it's gelatinous and it's all the nutrients that are extracted from the bone, of the calcium and all the nutrients that are coming out of the leached out of the bone when you're brewing it, and it's highly nutritious and it's it's cheap to make, relatively cheap. You just need to go to an organic butcher, get the bones. You have to brown the bones in the oven first and then cook them in a slow cooker. Basically just add water, a carrot. You can put an onion if you want. Some people with inflammatory conditions don't put onion in their bone broth. You just put like a carrot, a stick of celery, and you can put some herbs. There's a lady that I followed on YouTube that's got like hundreds and hundreds of styles of bone broth. Like this really nice, like a kindly American farm lady. I don't know her name offhand, but I came across her channel. I was like, whoa, there's so many styles of bone broth here, like just so many styles. So please feel free, people, to ask your questions. I'm here to answer them for the foreseeable future, for this moment in time. If people are interested in finding out more about Chinese medicine, learning it, I'm running a course in Chinese medicine. I'm also changing the times of the course, so I'm going to be adding another sequence. I'm partway through running. We're almost at the end of the first section of the course now that I've started. And once that's recorded, I'm going to open that up for people to do it as a on-demand course. So I'm going to set it up like that. But for now, it's like live, in person. No worries. Thanks. Glad that was helpful. So that's what I'm doing. So I'll put my website in the, I'll put a website link there and people can jump onto that. The mouse isn't working properly. Something's not great about these mice sometimes now. I don't know if you've noticed that, but like I've got a new computer, new Mac, and the batteries just go on these so quickly. They just go. I'm just reading your question because I want to put it on the screen, Anne. I know what you're going to say, but have you found anything as good as bone broth for vegetarians? So look, I used to be a vegetarian. I was a vegetarian for 9 years, and my teacher was constantly saying to me, you can never be healthy and be a vegetarian being in Chinese medicine. I was like, yes, I can. I'll never eat meat. I'll never cave. I hate eating. Like I really just couldn't stomach the idea of eating animals. Like I became a vegetarian when I was like 16 after my dog got run over, and I had to like his little eye was hanging out of his head, and we had to like hold his little eye up as he was going into the vets. And he ended up passing away. Obviously, we had to put him down, like otherwise he would have had no eye and like a little those little things little scooter thing. It was horrible. Anyway, I came home from that experience and my mum was cooking pea and ham soup, and the smell of the pea and ham soup made me think about my dog that had just died. It was a very similar smell for some reason. So that completely put me off meat. And from that moment, I was like, no, I'm never eating meat again. And I was like, I bought my own fridge and put it in my bedroom because I didn't want my mum's meat drippings to drip from the meat that she would buy. I didn't want it dripping down on my vegetables. I was that adamant about it. I'm a very strange person. And so I understand I understand that it's you just can't stomach meat. Fair enough. Like don't have it. Don't hurt yourself. Like don't put yourself through that torture. But there just came one day where I was like, I'm going to eat meat. Now I wasn't like super blood deficient because you're not when you're young. You're not blood deficient. That's the problem. You're healthy and you've got tons of reserve. But should something happen to you as life goes on, for a female, as life goes on, you're going to get blood deficient from your periods and stuff. Like even if you have a perfect cycle, you're going to be prone to getting blood deficient at some point from that. If you have a babies or miscarriages or things like that, like that's a part of it. So there's a product called Royal Jelly that I used to have all the time. And I also used to make this soup. I'll tell you about the soup that I would make. And that would be I wouldn't say it's the equivalent of bone broth, but it is it's a way to tonify blood. So good, my mouse is connected again. So I'm going to put this in one of these banners. So there's a soup pack that you can do, right? Let's see if we can put this on. Symptom. It doesn't have to be these herbs exactly, but there's certain herbs that are used to tonify blood, and you basically cook them up in a soup. So what you want to do is, I'll see if I've got any on here. Probably not. That would make sense that the ones we want to talk about are not here. I've just done me moving it. Everything's in a different place. I might have something hidden in the back here. What's that? Try and show. So one of the herbs is dungway, right? Can't see the dungway, but it looks like, let me see if I can just quickly get it. It's on the other side of this room. Dungway. Oh, there it is. So it's a brand new, massive. Now you don't need this much dungway. That's a certified organic dungway from Empirical Health. They're so good that they're not sponsoring this channel or anything, but I just love their company. So that's dungway, right? Now, what's good about looking at? I've got so many open herbs. I don't want to open this out because. Yep, there you go. So you can see the quality there, right? So dungway is in this Sewell tongue. So you can go down to your local Chinatown and you can look for this soup pack, Sewell tongue, which has basically got 4 herbs in it. Dungway, another herb called chuan shong, shu di or shang di. I think it's shu di that's in there. They're the same thing. It's just a different, like the fresh or the dried, which is, for all intents and purposes, the same thing at the moment. So the Shudi and yep. Oh, you're behind where we're at. Well, I'm not sure where you were at. Did I lose my connection? I hope it didn't cut out. Didn't seem like it cut out for me. Anyway, so dungway is in this Sewell tongue, right? So there's 4 herbs in there. And what you do is you wouldn't need a lot. You just need let's say a handful's worth of herbs. There might be 9 grams of dungway in that soup pack and 9 grams of the other things. Dungway is often just used by itself. So if you can just go and buy the dungway, you can use that. And you just make that as part of the soup stock. So what I would do is I would go down to supermarket and get a soup pack. They sell them like that in Australia. I don't know if they do that I'm not sure what country you're in, but you can get like a turnip. Oops, I forgot I had that poultice on my hands. I just put my finger down there, touched it. So you can get a turnip, a parsnip, like a piece of celery, an onion or whatever, right? The basic soup stock vegetables. And you put that in the pot and you put your dungway in there or your Sewell tongue, which has got your 4 blood tonic kind of Chinese herbs in there. And you basically just boil that up, and I would kind of reduce it to half of the water. So cover it, with a fair bit of water and reduce it down, and that'll then become the stock. So what's bone broth? It's stock. So then you could just use that in your cooking with your other things. It's not going to replace bone broth, but it'll be pretty hot, pretty strongly blood tonic, a blood tonic kind of thing. Now, when you're vegetarian or vegan, you tend to have more colder things, and your spleen and stomach tends to get colder. And so if that's happening, then having things like ginger in your diet is good, because that's going to help. Like, how do you make blood? You make blood through the process of the digestion of the spleen and stomach, like doing the job of digesting, the separating the pure and impure. So if you can help the spleen and stomach, and that's what fresh ginger does, you don't have to eat this much. This is a giant ginger, but just a little bit, like a thumb of ginger, what you'd normally put in your cooking. Especially if it's winter time it's like we're coming into, it's going to come into winter sooner or later anyway, but it's going to be more closer to winter in Australia. I'm not sure where you are, and if you're in America, then you're probably coming into your summer. So your body can tolerate more cold in summer, and it can tolerate less cold in winter. Like, it likes to be warmer in winter. So that's something that you can try for the sort of bone broth alternative. The other one I was saying was royal jelly. So royal jelly could be used, and you can buy that. I'll just put that there. Royal jelly. You can buy that in little tiny vials, and you drink it. Don't have too much. Like, have royal jelly once or twice a week. It's going to be a blood tonic food that's between a food and a medicine. If you've had asthma, or you've got asthma, or you could have some trouble with royal jelly. They've had to put warnings on it in Australia because some lady fed her kids so much that they almost died from so much royal jelly. Obviously, anything in excess is not good for you. So I probably should just put that disclaimer there. And that's why when you buy it in Australia, you see all these like warning. What is royal jelly? So if you're a vegan, you probably wouldn't have it, but if you're a vegetarian, you could probably have it. So it's like it's the honey that the bees make for the queen. Yep. If anyone else has questions, feel free to ask your questions. And I'll try to answer them. I'll probably be on this stream for just a little bit longer, and then we'll go. I've just been so busy with my moving and so I was going to put the link to the courses, and let's have a look. Where are we? So I'm going to be adding some new dates for the courses. But if you're interested in this, just keep a note of the link, of the web link. That's my website, my business website, metrohealth.com.au, and the courses 2022. So I'm updating that all the time with new ones. And you can book a call with me to chat one-on-one about your interest in learning Chinese medicine, and I can help you find a course. So I've got like courses that are really long, like go for a whole year, not every day of the year, once a week, and then there's little breaks in between the 12-week thing. So 3 lots of 12 weeks, and you get both access to the live one and didn't turn my phone down. You get access to the live one and access to the replay, so you can kind of do it on your own time in the replay, or you can do it live and ask questions in the Zoom live. So I've got different time slots for all around the world. I'm trying to fit in with people that are in the US. Oh, that's right. You did say you were in the US, Angela, I think. Yep. Yeah. So if you are in the US, you're going to be coming into summertime, and like you can still tonify blood now, but your body's not thinking about, it's thinking about the yang going outwardly, and like, you know, you're warming up naturally anyway. So when it comes to next year, you could sort of, as you get towards Christmas time, I would say that's where it's going to become super cold. Then you would you would start to really try to add this sort of stuff into your diet, the ginger, do the broths, but the vegetable broths, and do the cooking with the herbs in that way. Yep. All right. Someone put a spammy thing on. Just, yep. Not sure how to get rid of them, but thanks anyway for that. I'm going to put your comment on the screen. Does anyone else have a question that they'd like to ask about acupuncture or Chinese medicine or that kind of stuff? I hope you're doing well. Hope you've been having a great week and a good year. I can't believe it's already March. Like it's nearly going to be St. Patrick's Day, which is fun. Just Irish fun, an Irish fun day. Dressing up like a leprechaun, I guess. I won't be dressing up like a leprechaun. Maybe I'll do a leprechaun live stream. Something like that. No, I probably won't. I'm just going to have a look and see if there's any other questions that people wanted to ask that I needed to answer from before. There's so many, but I haven't answered. Yeah. Okay. Oh, here we go. Snow. Someone's saying snow on the ground today, but moving into spring. Yeah. Animal acupressure. I was just reading a comment. I don't think it was from you, actually. It was from someone else, Sup Chick, asking about acupuncture for horses and facial reflex points. Yeah, animals respond super duper to acupressure. So that's a good one. Yep. Yeah, so what happens in the seasons, right, is like your yang goes from the inside to the outside and then the outside back in. So when it's coming out, it's right on the surface in summer, and then it's kind of coming in to be stored and nourished and all that in winter. So one of the best things you can do to live a long, healthy life is to do what's needed in each season. And spring is the best season, one, for doing new things, like getting on with new projects. You're literally springing out. You're springing out of the winter and into newness, right? Oh, constipation. I love talking about that. So there's heaps of things, herbal or dietary. There's heaps of stuff you can do for that. So acupressure is one thing you can try. So your bowels going with your bowels. So in a clockwise direction. You can do the padding. So I'll just stand up like this. You can go like that around. So around and around. You can do circular. I'm going to have to bring that out a bit so you can kind of have circular motions go around. And you can do padding to go around. Oh, we've done a little cock up there. The camera thing. So that's one thing. Secondly, there's two ways to move your bowels. One is purging the bowels, and the second way is moistening the bowels. So purging the bowels is about what laxatives usually do, like this. They increase peristalsis, which is the natural movement that your guts do from the top to the bottom. So there can be lots of reasons why people get constipated. And there are different herbal methods and strategies that are used. So one is to increase peristalsis or promote peristalsis if that's not happening already. So for some people, it's a lack of wood to control earth in the 5 element sense. So the wood element is the element that looks after the movement of chi, and that's when people might have liver chi stagnation as part of the constipation. So almost like there's hardly any effort to actually push the stools out, and they can be sort of like dry, pebbly kind of stools in that case. Constipation in a acute sense can be because of a cold or a flu, like your body's had a heating up and then it's got a dryness in there. So in the yang ming is your stomach and your large intestine. So we're talking about the large intestine much more than the stomach. But that's one connection that Chinese medicine sees. And that yang ming level is like the second aspect of what happens when you get sick. So when you get sick with a cold, your body's responding to that by heating up, and then some people can just get stuck in that phase a little bit of this dryness in the yang ming. So in that case, it's like a salty flushing kind of method is used. Now, you can't live on a salty flushing herbs or foods because it's very purgative, and it's not something we would do regularly on a regular basis because you'll make your body depleted. When you do a salty flushing, like use the salty flushing method, you're flushing everything out. And you'd only do that when it's absolutely necessary. So that using salty kind of, I know there's a salty flushing kind of diet. I've heard of people ask me that on the channel. What do you think about salty flushing? Right. So there are those kinds of diets out there, but you can't use that for the chronic constipation. So this is constipation would be going for like a week or something. The most common, well, not the most common, but the least damaging way of treating constipation is to moisten the bowels. So there's lots of foods that moisten the bowels. Okay, I'm going to write some of these down for you in the comments. So moisten. Pears do this. So stewed pears would be really good to have, a bowl of stewed pears. You just simply cut up a pear. You put a tiny bit of water in a bowl with the pear and you cover it with some Glad wrap, or you don't even have to cover it with the Glad wrap. You just put it in the microwave and zap it for a little bit, and that'll cook it a bit. If you don't want to use the microwave, which is fine, I don't use the microwave as much. You put the pears into a bowl with the boiling water, just a little bit of water, not heaps of water, and then you just put it on the stove, or you can double boil it. It's a common thing used with pears. So anyway, pears are good. Pears moisten, they soften. If you don't have pears and all you've got is apples, you can't really use uncooked apples. They've got to be cooked. So you could stew the apples again. So just look up old-fashioned recipes. How do I stew apples? That's a common thing people do, stewing apples. The next one is seeds. Okay, or seed oil, like linseed, sesame seed, and hemp seed. So I'm just going to write that down, and I've put that in the list there. So the hemp seed is a Chinese herb, actually, for constipation, for moistening the bowels. How much of these seeds and stuff do you need? So I would start with a teaspoon of the seeds or a teaspoon of the oil once a day. And if that doesn't work, then you could double it. You could go to a bit more. You don't want to have so much oil that you're slip sliding away in your digestive tract. You don't necessarily need to have a ton of it. You're best off to start with a little bit of it, especially when you're making dietary changes like this, that if you've never had those foods before, just have a little bit of them and see how you go and see if there's any changes there. So the two methods of your bowels is like purging the bowels, and the other one is moistening the bowels. And moistening the bowels, I'd go for like a bowl of stewed pears a day. Look, fruits can have a purgative effect on your bowels too, But think back to when you were a little kid. I don't know if you ever did this, but when I was a little kid, we had a lot of fruit trees in the back of our, even though we just had a normal suburban house. For some reason, Mum had 2 plum trees and a lemon tree in there, but 2 plum trees. I'm just like, what? And so the plums would come. My sister and I would cycle around on our little bicycles, these little tricycles, and we would just fill up the back of the bicycles with the plums. And then we would just sit there eating them, like as many as we could eat, because it was just free food in the backyard. And then you would have these cramps in your guts because you've and you'd be pooping out plum stones, and Mum would be like, why did you eat the plum stones? Someone would just eat them, because you had to eat them quickly before the birds would eat them or the worms would come into them. So we were like, oh, it's a plum time, and we would go and get as many plums as possible. So that's an example of like, an excessive amount of foods that, of one thing like that, like fruits can do that. So I guess if you're like super blocked up, then you can use fruits in that way. But just be aware that fruits are cold. If they're not cooked, they can be a bit cold. And when you're a kid, you have less ability to digest those things, and you also have less regulatory mechanisms. You're like, I'll just keep on eating this stuff. You don't realize that you should have to stop. So that's one thing to remember, like with your bowels. So you can, like, that's why things like apricots will get your bowels moving, like dried apricots. If you eat enough of it, it'll get your bowels moving. So I guess if you're blocked up and it was you're really blocked up, it's not, you can have real bad problems if you don't get it moving. So you might be able to use one of those methods to kind of get things moving, but then you want to ensure that's kind of moving regularly. All right, Ica. Hi, I'm from Ica. I'm not sure if that's a place. I'm sorry about my ignorance. I want to ask, can glaucoma be treated with herbs? It's possible your practitioner could do that. I've seen a lot of this. I've seen different treatments for glaucoma with in Chinese medicine. So one of the treatments they use, which is I've not done this, is a type of moxibustion where they have these glasses that you wear, and actually like what's called moxibustion glasses. It's very interesting. I'm going to see if I can find a picture for you. So I'm not suggesting you go and buy these, but they're little glasses that they hold the moxibustion over your eyes, and they do it through a walnut shell, which is the traditional way of doing it. So the traditional way would be like you put a walnut shell over your eye, and then the practitioner holds the moxibustion over there, which moxibustion is a warming herb, right? Now, you would not want to directly have moxa waved over your eyes, because if that ash got down, that you'd be burning your eye, because the ash can come down off the moxa, right? So it's very dangerous. Like, please don't, like, doing this face to say, like, don't do it unattended. So maybe see your practitioner about that, about the use of moxibustion. And I've seen these devices that they sell on eBay where they use it's like a little device that holds the moxibustion sticks, 2 little bits of the stick over your eyes. You would need a practitioner to guide you how to get started with using it, and then you could possibly do it on yourself regularly. So it's like it's an infrared heat, like, and it's like that's what it's doing. For eye health, like, I think they can't say that it's going to treat glaucoma, and I can't make any claims about what we can and can't treat in that way because of regulations in Australia. But also, this is not an area where it's something where we would go about treating that pattern of disharmony. And so that's one thing. So if there was blood deficiency or there was some other underlying problem. But the second way we would do it is by doing acupuncture around the eyes to stimulate blood flow to kind of get there. There's not like one herb, like if you take this one herb, it's going to increase your eye health or something like that. It's possible that there's some modern research that has looked at Chinese herbs to use in that way, but it's not how Chinese medicine works. And there's certainly nothing I know about that's like, oh, you've got to use this one herb. Yeah, the one herb wonder. I'll answer another one or two questions if there are. Otherwise, I'm going to stop the stream. I'm just going to get ready for tomorrow. Yeah. So thanks everyone for your. I know there's a delay between me asking and people commenting and people hearing. So I'll give it a couple of secs. No worries. I'm sorry I couldn't give you more information, but Google those moxibustion. I'll write the name in case you're not familiar with. But have a look up that. Moxa is the name of the herb. Moxibustion is like the burning of the moxa herb. So thanks for hanging out with me tonight, or in the morning if you're in the morning in the US time. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Never said that. Smash that like button. Thanks for supporting the channel, everyone. And if you have more questions about Chinese medicine and you're watching this after the stream, you're like, oh, I missed out. You can put your question in the comments and I'll try to answer it on the next stream. I always say this, I'll try to do more streams, but trying's lying. I will do more streams. So I would love to see you on one of my courses. I have been spending a lot more time to get those ready and to, do them. It's something very unique. I don't think there's anyone really offering that type of education that's really to just self-empower people. It's not to make you a practitioner. It's really to teach people that just want to learn how to help themselves. And it's kind of the knowledge of the foundational aspects of Chinese medicine. And then there's more about the Chinese diet therapy is the one that's coming up next. So I can find the dates for when that's going to start. So the time when that class goes on is, for me, it's a Sunday night. So if you're in Australia, in Sydney or Melbourne, it'll be way too late. It'll be like middle of the night for you, like early hours of the morning. But if you're in the UK, it's like 1 to 3 p.m. in the UK. And if you're in the US, it's early in the morning for you too. I think it's like 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. if you're in Canada. These times can change, like the exact time changes because of daylight savings and all these kinds of things, right? So the next course that I'm running is going to start on the 1st of May, and that'll go through to the 17th of July. And that's a 12-week course on like Chinese diet therapy. If you're interested in knowing more about that, then you can, because I haven't got the web page ready for that exact, just that course in isolation yet. So you can send me an email at my email. I'll put it here, learn@metrohealth. learn@metrohealth.com.au. And you can just ask for the info. Just say, oh, when the course opens up, can you send me the information of when it's starting, the diet therapy course? So it's definitely going to be on those dates. And what we'll learn is the first couple of weeks is like digestive health, understanding gut health in Chinese medicine, how to stop dampness and promote longevity and things like that. That's basically the first 3 weeks. So we're talking about what is healthy diet in Chinese medicine, what's your earth element and this digestive process of your cooking pot on the stove in detail. So there's opportunity for people to ask questions in the course as you go along. If you can't get to those time slots, then you can watch the class, and then by the next week you can email me the question and I'll answer it in person on the Zoom. Then we're going to go through all the properties of the food. So properties of fruits and vegetables, properties of meats and grains, properties of nuts and seeds in Chinese medicine. So are they warming? Are they cooling? Are they purging? All that sort of stuff. We're going to talk about that. And then there's 1 week on medicinal wines and teas, 1 week on TCM nutrition for kids, 1 week on TCM nutrition for postpartum health. So after you've had a baby. So basically pregnancy, during pregnancy, after pregnancy, that kind of thing. So there's heaps of so this is the kind of stuff I would teach when I've taught at a university level class. So this is what 4th year Chinese medicine students would learn. And then you can use those foods. So when you're going through a supermarket, you'll be able to see all the foods, like you'll be able to see ginger and think, oh, that's warming. That's good for my earth element. That's good for my spleen and stomach. Or that's good for, in a certain amount, even in more amount of it, I could use that as a pungent food to open my pores and start a sweating, so that you could get rid of a cold or a flu. And you might use that in combination with our good friend cinnamon. And cinnamon kind of, could be a herb like that, or it could be a food. Here's another food that's commonly used in Chinese medicine: spring onions. These are looking a little bit sorry because I was sitting here since last night when I was doing my class. But that's the kind of stuff I'll be teaching in the class. So all kinds of goodness, and yep. So thanks for your attention, everyone. I'm going to end the stream now, I think, unless last call for questions. I'll give you 5 seconds if you've got something to ask. And then, yeah, we'll I could talk all night, but I have to do some other things. Life is very busy at the moment. I'm just trying to squeeze as many things in as I can, as I usually do. So thank you, everyone. I will see you again on another stream or on one of my videos. Thanks for your support of the channel. Please send me an email if you're interested in the course, and I'll let you know when it's on. And when the next one's on, I'll let you know. So thank you. Bye-bye.